Welcome to another episode of Health Your Way podcast, where we discuss health issues ranging from physical, mental, emotional, as well as current facts. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing I am more than my bipolar disorder. And I really want to have this conversation. I'm really grateful and honored to have my guest, and Cleoni, did I say it right?
Cleoni.
Cleoni, thank you, Crawford, who's an author, mental health advocate, a leader in her own rights, and has bipolar disorder, but does not stop her from stepping into her own greatness. So I want to say welcome to my show. I really appreciate your time, your patience, your effort, and I'm gonna really enjoy this conversation because I think you resemble vision, passion, determination, and anything else you want to add. Like, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking for you. Go ahead, tell us what you want to say.
No worries, no worries. Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for having me on your show, Mo. I'm looking forward to discussing more about bipolar disorder and how people can overcome and be resilient.
Yes, because you resemble it. Like, I think for a lot of people are listening to you, and for me, I had to do some research. I personally am not affected. In your own words, what is bipolar disorder? What are some symptoms people should be aware of? And please educate us.
Sure. So bipolar disorder is formerly called manic depressive.
Okay.
It's a mental illness that has extreme mood swings that include emotional highs like hypomania and mania, or lows, depression.
Okay.
There are three types of bipolar disorder. There's bipolar 1. That
Okay.
is where you have mania and depression. Mania is like euphoria and a psychosis or a break from reality. And then there's bipolar 2. This is where you have periods of hypomania and depression. Then there's cyclothymic disorder. And this is where you have about 1 to 2 years of rapid episodes of hypomania and depression, but not a major depression. So let's
Okay.
talk about mania and hypomania. What's the difference? They're pretty much, so both mania, a manic and a hypomanic episode, include 3 or more of these symptoms. So you are either abnormally upbeat, jumpy, or wired. You have an increased activity, energy, and agitation. You have an exaggerated sense of well-being and self-confidence. Trust me, self-confidence. You know what I mean? You get a pop collar and everything. You have a decreased need for sleep. I mean, sleeping like 2 hours and you're feeling like you're on top of the world still. Crazy. You're like unusual talkativeness, racing thoughts, distractibility, poor decision making. For example, you're going on buying sprees, which I have done, taking sexual risks, which I have done, or making foolish investments, which I have done. So I've definitely gone through the 3 or more symptoms. Now, on the flip side, there's the depression. And that's where you have a depressed mood, such as feeling sad, empty, hopeless, or tearful. There's like a marked loss of interest or feeling of no pleasure. You know what I mean? You don't want to do anything. Sometimes it's significant weight loss or gain. There's insomnia, sleeping too much, restlessness, slow behavior, fatigue, loss of energy, feelings of worthlessness, and an excessive amount of guilt. You always feel very guilty, and decreased ability to think and concentrate, and then also thinking about and planning or attempting suicide, unfortunately. So that's bipolar disorder. So it's just like it's like the extremes. It's either you're depressed or you're hypomanic or manic, and but you're having trouble with baseline, getting into the middle.
Okay. So I think it's fair to say, on a lighter side, a lot of people are going through this experience. I've gone through it at some form at one point, but on a serious state, I appreciate that because I don't think I was I know I wasn't aware of what it was per se. And whoever's listening, I think if you are listening and watching and hearing what this wonderful woman is saying, is if you know someone like this, you think you are like this, it's wise to get yourself diagnosed, go talk to a doctor, because they might be help for you. And, it's good to have some form of control of your own life and your own choices to a certain extent, right? That's fair to say. And I think, a lot of people are listening to you and, we appreciate what you mentioned. I didn't really know there was 3 types. I thought it was just one. But on a personal level for you specifically, Ms. Crawford, how would you say your life was before and after you were diagnosed? Like, I guess people want to know, was it better or good? Like, how is it different now?
Well, I would say prior to being diagnosed, I was quite happy. I was
Okay.
energetic, I was creative, and I was stable. That's the
Okay.
most important part. And I had a lot of people respected me because,
Oh.
yeah, I had a really good reputation. Um, I was University of Toronto's student,
Okay.
in hopes of becoming a lawyer. And I had a stronger relationship with God as a Christian, and I was a role model, like I mentioned. I never
Okay.
got into trouble with the law, and had some really great, meaningful relationships.
Okay.
But then in 2006, when I was 25 years old, I became diagnosed. After my first, so yeah, I became diagnosed at 25. And that episode literally shook me, where basically I started have an exaggerated sense of well-being. I was irritable. I had a lot of spending sprees, um, hypersexual. It was just a lot of things that were outside of my character, which would cause people to lose respect for me. But the thing is, we see the thing about bipolar or mental illness in general, you are more than your illness. There's so much more to you, but when you're going through it, you think that's all you are, that you
Okay.
are your illness. And I also experienced on the other side, I also experienced like depression, where I became suicidal. I tried to commit suicide in a few different ways. Um, Prior to this, like I never had any desires to die. I loved my life. I had very high hopes of myself, and and then once I was diagnosed, I started to hate my life because of the relationships I had lost and the destruction that I had caused. Please note that I was diagnosed in 2006, and there was a 6-year break. Like even though I was diagnosed in 2006. After I got diagnosed and had 6 months of treatment, I was doing much better. And for 6 years, I had no episodes.
Okay.
So, but it wasn't until 2012 when things went really, really bad. Like I
Okay.
found myself having numerous episodes back to back where I was homeless, incarcerated, hospitalized 26 times, and suicidal. And as a result of being bipolar, I became pregnant when I was 36. I met somebody when I was actually manic. My baby father was, I met him when I was manic and hypersexual. And you know what I mean? Like, whatever happens. But you know what? Despite that, my son became a blessing to me because he helped me become more stable. And I still have episodes, but they're less frequent.
I guess when you say episode, would you say maybe everybody's different, but was your episode based and triggered from stress levels, or I just want to understand because if you're having episodes, I'm wondering like anything, is it triggered by certain things that you're self-aware of now that you try to minimize?
Well, some of my triggers were in 2007, my sister passed away. She was 17 years old.
My
And
condolence.
no worries. Yeah, she was 17 years old. She died in a car accident where she was with her best friend, and a young man stole his mother's vehicle and was being chased by a police officer. And because of that, it T-boned my sister's taxi cab. And my sister died 2 days later by being declared brain dead. So what happened is, for many years, even up until this year, it happened in June, like June of 2007. So every year around June, I would get triggered by her anniversary, and I would find myself either a week before or a week after being triggered and might have an episode because of her death. And in particular, this year was a big trigger because it was the number 13. And for me, when I have bipolar, I become very big on numerology. So
Okay.
numbers mean everything to me. And I become obsessed with them. So this year. 13 was not necessarily my favorite number, because it meant something. So yeah, so that was one of the triggers. And the other triggers is I find that whenever I'm trying to do a new initiative, business, whatever, anything new, I would get sick within a few weeks. It might be the stress, it might be me taking on too much, but I'd find that I get stressed. And that's why I wonder, I do question if sometimes it's not just a physical illness, but also a spiritual illness.
I see what you're saying with that. Okay.
Yeah, because it happens so quickly every single time when I'm trying to move forward, that sometimes I'd get sick. So I question if it's spiritual and chemical.
Okay, so when you say that, I'm thinking not only for you specifically, but a lot of people fear success, right? Some people fear the idea. So if you're fearing that you're trying to move forward in life, right? But that fear is now being, I guess, symbolized or manifested. That's what manifested in some kind of chemical, like you swear to, like, you know, something's like your body's like, I'm not ready for this. Like, I guess, where was I going with this? I think I can understand where you're coming from, and I agree with, you know, and a lot of people can relate with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry to hear about your sister, first of all. I'm also, at least you're self-aware to a certain extent what triggers you. You know, it's fair to say that. I think for a lot of people, you know, I like the fact that you mentioned that you did get treated, because some people may not get treated, but then you made sure you mentioned that for 6 years itself, you really had no issues until something happened, and then you were, and then what occurred with the 26 card and hospitalized, being incarcerated. After that, or during those times that you were being incarcerated, would you say that people treated you differently? Because I think at one point you did kind of say, but I want to step back. Once did they treat you differently while you're going through that? But once they found out that you had it, were you treated better or different? Like how? Like did they teach? Sorry, were you treated differently before, in a good way or a bad way, or were you treated better once they found out that you have bipolar, even though you were going through your manic sessions? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, good.
Unfortunately, I do face stigma. Okay. I do face it. When, like, prior to when they didn't know that I had bipolar, you know, they treated me like a human being. Like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, but once they found out I had bipolar, you can see there's this sense of fear. And
fair enough.
Because they're afraid, how is she gonna act? Is she gonna overreact? Or I don't know what it is, but you can see that there's a little bit of caution, like this, it's like they have this caution sign up. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, you can see that, you can hear it in the tone of their voice, and that something, they feel a little uncomfortable, just a bit.
I know, yeah, I like, not to be rude, but I can understand where they're coming from, because I think I would feel the same way too. Like, I'm being honest. I think it's more of the fact that you don't want to, even if you say something, some people are not self-aware of how they come across, right? So anybody would ignore it, but are we concerned the fact that if we say something to you, you may take it to the next level that's not intended that way? Or I think you're right, like, it'd be fair. Like, I could see it being fair that you don't want to offend that person, and that you don't want it to be. But then, you know, to be honest, I'm like that with anybody I talk to. I don't know what you're like. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna think you're crazy until you make sure I think you're sane. So when I mean by crazy itself is like, I don't know how you're gonna behave towards me as a person, because I don't know you personally, right? So maybe that's the wrong choice of word. That's how I would be. But with my family and friends, it's more like, they know I'm crazy. They know I'm stupid. So they'll just accept me.
That word is so loaded.
Yes, I know. I keep saying the wrong words, and I'm putting my foot in my mouth. So apologies. And they know I am foolish. That's the best choice of word. I'm foolish.
Okay, we can go with that.
I'm foolish. Like, I am learning as well. Like, I've learned a lot this year in respects to, you know, what's not PG, but what's the right choice of way of interacting, communicating, and using the wrong words. And I do apologize for using that word. It's not intended.
No.
I know, I'm just saying, for anybody's listening that may be offended, it's not intended to anybody. I think I am losing my mind sometimes for myself when I deal with people. So I think, but listen, not to deviate from this conversation going forward, I think for when you were diagnosed, what would you say from now, like looking back, what would be the one or the two things you would have wanted someone to say to you that you know now that you would have wanted to hear at that time to help you through those hard times?
The first thing I would want, I wish I knew what bipolar was and the symptoms so I could have been able to identify the signs a bit better. But I also wish that someone would say, you are more than your illness.
Oh, I like
You are
that.
more than your illness. Because sometimes I felt that that was all that I was, that I am bipolar, not I am Cleoni who lives with bipolar. And it's totally different thing. It's two different ways of looking at it. It's like I am, you know what I mean? You're not claiming it. You're not saying that that's all that you are. But I couldn't see past that. I just saw that I am bipolar, so I'm never gonna get married. I'm never gonna have children. I'm never gonna do anything. I'm gonna be in this mood for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be extreme. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
I just felt like I was just like, yeah, I wish someone said you were more than your bipolar. And someone eventually did say that to me to make me feel a bit better, about myself, which really helped. What's something else that I can think of?
I think that one alone is good enough for me. The reason why I say that, it's because even you're telling me, but if anybody's watching or listening and they're experiencing the same thing, or they know someone, I think it's, if you hear this, go to that person, say, you know what, you're more than your bipolar, right? You are dealing with it, but you're more than this. Whatever you want to do in life, don't stop. Because I see you. This is why I'm seeing you, Cleoni. I watch you out there. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because you resemble that you're more than your bipolar disease and you're making those changes. And the reason why I say this is, even though you're dealing with this, you've had some professional success, right? I hear your books out there. So just tell us, what have you done that people should be aware of that shows that, you can be more than this per se?
Okay. Well, first of all, my first success is that I am a mother. Yes. And to a beautiful baby boy he's 3 years old. His name is Emmanuel. And I love him so much. He stabilizes me. I never thought that I would be a mother because of having bipolar disorder. I thought that was out of the cards. I actually said that I wasn't going to have children, but I guess God had another plan for me. You know what I mean? And I've written 2 books. Thank you. One is which just became a best-selling book on Amazon.
Congratulations. No, don't skip by this. This is good news. This is big news. Repeat yourself again. No, repeat yourself again. Tell them what you are. Sorry, you gotta repeat that. You are what, ma'am? I'm sorry, what were you? Please?
Best-selling author, girl.
Thank you. Now you can go on. Go ahead. Now you can go ahead.
So yeah, that was that book was called 30+1 Resilient Stories. That's a new book that just came out on the 24th. I was a co-author in that book, so it's a compilation book. But best-selling author nonetheless. And then my first book was called The Music of My Life, where I share my journey with bipolar, epilepsy, being a fashion designer, being on TV.
Hold on, sit back. How you skip that? I'm sorry. How you go skip how you were bipolar and epilepsy? You understand how you just skip by that? So explain this. Let's go back. So not only are you bipolar, but you have epilepsy. You're dealing with all that, and you've achieved that much.
Yes.
I think if not only whoever's I think a lot of people are watching and watching not only because you have bipolar, but just the fact that you are not letting things like that stop you from becoming the best version of yourself, even getting to you. And I wanted you to go back because you can't just skip that and just say, yeah, this is this. I was like, okay, hold on. I heard you. I was listening to you. So I really commend you. I do. I think Yeah, like by far. Like, do you do any speaking or like any motivational stuff? Like,
Well, I'm currently in a course that's teaching
okay,
me how to become a professional speaker. So I'm
yeah,
taking it with a woman named Karen Donaldson. She's teaching me all the tricks and tips behind speaking
okay.
and how to turn it into a business. So I will be going into that in the future.
Like the fact I asked because I knew this because I think not even I think I know like a lot of people are dealing in silence. A lot of people don't think they can get there. And I think you have a story and
Yes.
your story is a good story. Like it's even though you've had up and downs, but I think as you say you went through those challenges to become the person you are today. And I
Hmm.
think you're a beautiful person because I'm
Oh,
listening, we're talking, and I'm just like, and you talk like, this is just life, like this is normal. But a lot of people are like, yo, I'm struggling just to walk down the street. You're going through all this and you're doing so much. So I think, if anybody wants to follow your journey more, what's the best social media platform that they can get in touch with you?
the best way that they can find me is on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Um, at on Facebook and Instagram, it's only Cleoni.
Mhm.
And my new podcast is called, oh, I know, girl. It's called Resilient Minds 365. And that's where I document the lives of resilient mental health stories of students, professionals, and entrepreneurs. So, yeah, they can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Resilient Minds 365
We
as
will
well.
have that there as well for you. But honestly, first, congratulations on your new podcast. Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the
Hey,
journey.
welcome to the
It's
journey.
yes, it's. I think it'll be really good because your platform in respects of having other people tell their stories will encourage other people that are struggling in silence. I think it's needed. And then with that said, because you named so much already, what's next for you? Like, tell us, what are you doing out that we should know of? What's coming up for you right now?
Well, what's coming up? I'm actually a student. I'm studying addictions and mental health at Centennial College. So,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
so I'm doing that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm working on that at Centennial College, and I'm also in that course, which is teaching me how to be a professional speaker. So, and then I have my podcast. So those are three big things that I'm focusing on right now. That's what's next. I'm hoping to become a baller, shot caller when it comes to
No,
mental.
she does not. She's not over that. She's not. She's joking. She wants to be the inspirational woman to lead you to happiness and joy.
Yeah, that too.
Cody.
Oh my God.
She's joking with you, and she's gonna be well. Honestly, it's good that you smile. It's good that you have personality because people realize that you are personable and that they shouldn't be afraid and that this is just life. Like everybody has ups and downs in their own experience. But besides that, I see how you watch on Facebook how you're trying to lose weight.
Yes,
Documentaries.
girl. Thank you. Thank
Congratulations.
you. I see what you've been doing with all your inspiration. You think I don't see you? I see you. So for me, yeah, my goal is to lose 100 pounds. So
Really?
yeah,
I
I
don't
have,
think you have. You don't
uh,
look like you have 100 on you.
girl, yeah.
Maybe 75, maybe even 50. Watch. You need to add the muscle back on and look like you can. You need to add the muscle back on. Yes, that's it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
so I'm working with a trainer right now.
good.
He's helping me to work on my nutrition
Good.
and my exercise plan. So let's hope that sometime next year I will be summerlicious and bodylicious and bikini ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, Claudia. Yes, Claudia. How about let's rephrase it? I hope to be the best version of myself
Yeah,
and
that
look
too.
active. Hey, I think I really like this conversation because it just shows the real of you. Like people that whoever's watching or listening, bipolar does not make the person. Like they're still generally nice people. They have everybody struggles with their own challenges. So what I got from this, and thank you for this, is that your stereotype of what you see bipolar or what your negative views, it's false. Because there's people like Cleoni out there that are good people that are trying to make, a change and make a life out of this current situation and do the best with it. That's what I got from this conversation, and I appreciate that.
Amazing. I'm so glad that you were able to get that. I hope that your listeners will just realize that despite an illness, you can strive, you can thrive, and you can live a life of abundance no matter what. You can do it.
I love that.
Mental health is not a death sentence.
Oh, I like that. With that said, thank you again for being on this podcast. It was a sincere pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on our weekly episode of Health Your Way podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share with others, and please feel free to comment below and ask any questions on topics we discussed, as well as future topics you'd like to hear about. Have a happy and healthy week, and be sure to tune in next week for the next episode on our Health Your Way podcast.